You're on.
All right, I'd like to call the order to the meeting of the Needham Park and Rec Commission for Monday, June 22nd. Before we conduct our meeting, I'd like to go over some open meeting laws. As a preliminary matter, this is Chris Gerstle, the chairman of the Needham Park and Rec Commission. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Cindy Chaston? Here. Michelle Geddes?
Here.
Bruce Williams? Good to go. Staff, when I call your name, please respond to the affirmative. Each staff member, Stacy Mulroy?
Yes.
Angela O'Connor?
Here.
Kristen Wright?
Here.
I do also see that we have two other members of the Park and Rec staff on it, being Chris Burnham. I don't know if he's on video or not. And
He's an
Kim
attendee.
Parsons. Okay, attendee. Got it. All right, so we don't need to do that. Anticipated speakers of the agenda, please respond. There's no speakers. Good evening. This is the open meeting of the Needham Park and Rec Commission to be conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. Bear with me, I'll scroll down. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirements of the open meeting law to have all meetings in publicly accessible physical locations. Further, all members of the public bodies are allowed to encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely, so as long as reasonable public access is affordable so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participants is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. For this meeting, the Needham Park and Rec Commission is convening by Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you and to take care to not share your screen of your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supported materials that have been provided members of the body available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, question, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or your computer when you're not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. For items with public comments, after members have spoken, the chair will forward public comment as follows. The chair will first ask members of the public who wish to speak to identify their names and addresses only. Once the chair has a list of all the public commentators, I will call on each by name and afford 3 minutes for any comments. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call. All right, let us now go to the agenda of the Park and Rec meeting, and I apologize, I just need to move the screen. All right, director's report. Stacy, what do you have for us?
I can go, but do you want to ask if there's any public comment from the
I will do
attendees?
that. Is there any public comment from any of the attendees on this call? Anything coming through?
If you have any public comment, you can use the question and answer, and we will be able to pull it up from there. Otherwise, we will go on to the next agenda item. We can always go back if questions arise. All right, Chris, I can move on to the director's report.
All right, please do.
So the report from Parks and Forestry, all our fields are open for passive recreation currently. There are no permits that will be discussed later. And there are a few fields still closed, but those are due to maintenance. Kristen has been sending out a daily field update. So anybody interested in or have any questions about what is and is not open will go out in that daily update. One of the concerns that is coming not just from DPW but from people in town is the amount of trash being left out on the fields and close to but never in or not quite in the barrels, and the significant increase in trash down the center of town where the commons are, typically near the outdoor seating. It is not surprising that the trash has increased because there is no indoor dining. So there was no indoor dining until today. So the trash is now accumulating outside. But we have had a number of residents reach out to us, and the town manager and Eddie and his team are also battling that situation.
Stacy, has there been any response or update from the recycling transfer station? That I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of the big bellies are out there, but are the ones that are on the street that leads up to the high school by Sudbury Farms? I know that there were concrete platforms there, but I do not know if the big bellies are there. Can we find out? Because I heard Memorial is one of the fields that kind of is getting trashed, and that's kind of a segue right up there, that if there's no trash barrels, I'm not surprised there's trash on the fields. I don't like it, but I'm not surprised.
I can look into that. The answer, I don't know the answer to that, but I will reach out to RTS and find out. The complaint has been typically in Memorial, but also that people are putting trash next to barrels. And I think with the increased number of trash that we have, DPW just can't get to it fast enough to empty them. They have to change their schedule. They have to go more frequently, and we don't have the people right now, is the feedback that I'm getting, mainly because we don't have our summer intern staff or our summer part-time staff. So it slows down their ability. So we are working with Eddie and the PIO to try and do some social media campaigning of carry in, carry out as much as we can.
Okay.
Kirsten, I saw your question, and we will certainly answer it when we get to that discussion item. Just wanted to acknowledge that. Summer programs in the pool will have a lengthy discussion as we get down to it, so that document is attached. And playgrounds is the final item on this. And so I've had numerous conversations with the public health department, reached out to neighboring communities and communities that are more similar to Needham, and we are discussing putting up signage to open the playgrounds that will basically say that playgrounds are open, you must wear a mask, you should practice social distancing at all times. If the playground is super busy, wait so that there are not too many people on the playground, and that the playgrounds will not be disinfected, because there's a difference between disinfecting them and cleaning them. So they will be clean, but they will not be disinfected. So there will be some signage. Many of the surrounding communities are using similar signage, and both the Needham Public Health and PIO and town management felt like that was appropriate signage. But obviously it has to come to you guys first before we go out there.
Question being, we usually had a staff person that would kind of maintain the playgrounds. Do we still have that this year?
We still have Tony on board.
Okay.
But it would not be possible for Tony to clean by himself all the playgrounds each day.
I'm not asking that. I'm just keen, like, more of the regular maintenance. Like if something breaks, just everyday things. I don't expect him to be out there with a squeegee kind of doing that, but just to know that he is back and will be able to keep up with the regular maintenance.
Yes.
Okay.
Kristen, can you confirm that? There was wishy-washiness on that one.
Yes, I'm trying to get a call with the team and Eddie.
Perfect.
And Tony.
Thanks. So that's it for the director's report, because we'll have more lengthy discussions in the discussion part of the agenda.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions before I pass it on? Come on, Cindy. There it is.
You knew I'd have some. I wrote them down. question, I think for Kristen, the daily update for the fields. Kristen, I was getting those, a text message. I looked back at every day for a while, and then they stopped last Tuesday. And I didn't get anything today, either an email or a text message. So maybe it's on my side, but I know I didn't unsubscribe to anything. So I'm just curious. That's one point. And maybe it's me, but nothing.
Let me look through my emails.
Okay.
Yeah, I
I'll
was
double check. It should have gone out like it always has, but
and honestly, I didn't notice I didn't get it until we started talking tonight. I'm like, oh, I haven't seen that for a few days. So one thing, the DPW summer intern staff, summer interns, are we going to be hiring those, or is that probably a no for the DPW summer staff?
I don't know the answer to that. I can look into it for you. We don't do the hiring.
Yeah,
DPW does their own hiring.
Yeah, I was just curious if you knew if we would, that you said it's hard for them to get to the trash because they don't have their staff. And I just wondered if if they're going to be hiring summer staff or if that's a no.
I don't know where they have fallen on that. I can follow up with town management. We just have, because of the restrictions on the building and within the cars or the vehicles, it makes it harder to have extra staff. But I can certainly follow up. I'll put it on my to-do list to follow up.
So maybe before we ask for any more help on trash, if they're not getting any more people, then it would be unrealistic for us to expect the service from them to become any better. So I'm curious. And playgrounds, are the playgrounds open now? Are people using them now, or what date are they opening?
I'm going to answer this question very particularly. The playgrounds are not open in Needham. They are technically allowed to be open as part of phase 2. We have not opened them yet. We're hoping for that tonight, for a discussion or action item on that tonight from you guys. Whether or not people are on it, I wouldn't be surprised because of the governor's statement. I mean, my colleagues are saying like people are just out there. But we have not removed any of the caution tape, and the playgrounds that can be locked are continue to stay locked.
Okay, all right, because I did think they could be opened. I didn't think we were, okay.
Yes.
And then last question, how often are they cleaned or whatever? I know we're not sanitizing, but how often are we cleaning them?
As part of our program for summer, we're gonna hopefully have an ability to clean most of them, especially near the programs that we're using daily. But
okay,
we still have to figure out what that substitute program staff is going to be doing and what schedule they might be on for any cleaning.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions in regards to the director's report? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. Let us go to the programming report. There she is.
Just to let you know, my spacebar did not work right now.
Yeah, notice that culprit who gave that horrible suggestion is not on the call tonight. He's an IT guy too, jeez.
So our activity bags are packed, and Chris did the first run through today with pickup. Needham Housing is coming by tomorrow to grab their bags to be delivered throughout Needham Housing tomorrow. And then for summer, we don't really have much going right now besides the activity bags and hiring and getting everybody on board that we need to get on board for programs and the pool. And then one of my biggest questions is for all of us is Arts in the Park. We have people that still want to come in August, and we really need to figure that out. What we're going to be doing as a department and commission. And then we have had several groups cancel already in the earlier season. So next month, people have canceled, but in August, there are still some groups that would still like to come and play. We haven't canceled. Just in case we can still move forward with it, I think it would be a great thing for our community to have a little bit of fun.
Question to ask. So in regards to the August shows, what type of timeline would they need to know like when they're booked? Are they like a 3-week out kind of thing, 2 weeks out? Like what
Yeah,
type of time frame?
They've been going back and forth. They're just waiting for us to make the call.
All right. And they would be good, like, so hypothetically, say we have them for the 7th, the 14th, and the 21st.
Mm-hmm.
We have them scheduled, and then say we can't do it. They understand that we do have that cancellation policy if
Yes.
state doesn't allow it or something that
Well,
happens. So,
yeah, absolutely. And
Okay.
if that comes into play, I think they'll pull back anyways before we have to pull back.
I mean, I'll ask the commission. I mean, what do people think? Cindy Chaston, what do you think about Arts in the Park? And then we'll go into the other things.
I think it's great if we have some sponsors. I don't know if you've heard from anyone who's willing to be a sponsor, but that's typically what happens. Somebody, what, $500 or $600 or $1,000, and
We've selected most of our sponsors already, because we started back in January.
Yeah.
So we do have several sponsors that are still out there.
then I think it would be great. I try to get to one every summer. They're on Thursday nights, and there's a good smattering of people. Sometimes a good crowd. There are some people who know these bands. They're local groups. So yeah, I think it's a great idea if we can do it, and if it's allowed. It sounded to me like that probably will be allowed based on what I heard tonight, but on the news. But I guess that will remain to be seen. But I would say yes, go forward with it.
Okay.
Michelle, any comments, questions?
Well, and what is the total number? Like, how many do we usually have and how many have canceled? I mean, are we below half?
Well, most of the ones in July are pulling out.
Right.
So we have two left in August. So if we could hold on to 2 of those, just so we can hopefully, by the time that rolls around, things will loosen up a little bit and we can enforce the social distancing somehow on the field or in the parking lot at Memorial.
Because these are the one-off ones. I was thinking it was like it's like one independent show. It's not like all right. I'm thinking of like a booth sort of thing. Okay.
Yeah, no.
Got it.
All right. Any other questions, Michelle?
Nope.
Okay. Bruce, any comments, questions?
No, I mean, the Arts in the Park, they want to schedule 2 or 3. I mean, as long as people understand they have to do the social distancing, I think people are being pretty responsible these days. If it's good for the town, I think it's a good idea.
Great. I agree with the commission. I think this is a great idea. I think it's a way to kind of have some fun with the community and kind of get back to as much normalcy as we can. So if we can kind of start pre-booking, or at least saying, hey, we're very interested in doing something like this, start working out some target dates, I think it's something that we should pursue as a commission and as a group. The only other question I had in regards to the program report, if we can go back quickly to hiring and interviewing.
Yes.
I know this is probably a loaded question, but how's it going? Like with the time frame that we're going to go over when we talk about the pools and the programs, what is the general feedback that you're getting from people that you're interviewing?
They're eager to work.
Okay. That's exactly what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
I know, like with the time frame of what we're looking at, but they're all fine with, the time frame, how we're going to do it in the process.
Yeah, they're just eager to get out there and work and follow the guidelines. There's some kids who have parents that are at risk. So we are looking at alternative suggestions and things to do with them, but still keep them on staff.
Good. I'd like to hear that. So, all right. Any other questions in regards to the program report? If any commission member would just want to raise their hands, we'll bring it up instead of just going one by one. If there is a question or not. I'm seeing nothing. All right. So let us now go to the discussion items. First one on our agenda that we have is for-profit organizations and field usage. I think that was a great segue also kind of with the playgrounds, which is on there. So let's kind of get into this. But I know from what we're hearing is, and please correct me if I'm wrong, phase 3 was originally slated to be around June 29th, but we're now hearing it's more looking like July 6th that phase 3 will go into effect in Massachusetts. Is that correct?
Yes, what I heard was that would happen at the earliest. It would be
Okay.
July 6th.
Got it. Okay. So let's go kind of work backwards. Let's go field usage for in town, and then we'll do for-profit organizations. And I know just hearing with it, I know there's some requests coming in, but it's not from every user group that's out there because a lot of programs aren't doing anything this summer or fall or certain things. Yes, Stacy.
So I have field permitting for our user groups
Sorry.
down
Okay.
there.
I'm sorry. We'll go
As a
down that.
lower-
I was kind of lumping it together. We'll do field permitting on that. So let's go back to the field usage. I know there was an email that was sent out earlier in regards to our field usage policy. That Stacy, I think you sent out. Did everyone have a chance to look at it, or Cindy? I know that you were the one that made the request. Did anyone have a chance to look at it? Okay, we have some things. I know in the past we've always done it that Needham has never opened up their fields for for-profit organizations. It's always been internal. It's been the user groups of the high school. It's been user groups for the town and the recreation groups. We've never done it for for-profit organization. I think we're in the times that we're in right now. It's something I think we should definitely look at and explore to see what the possibilities are. I think it's a request that's going to be coming in more often, and I'd like to have a kind of open discussion of what people think about it. And I'll go
So as we go through this discussion, Chris, I want to point out that Kirsten Allen from Blue Lotus is on as an attendee, and their question was whether or not it was possible for Blue Lotus to utilize Greensfield or some other for outdoor classes. So that is, and as you know, I've had a few conversations with Blue Lotus in particular, but they are on there. So
Sure.
But they are wondering about that as well.
Okay. I mean, like I said, I think this is something we should heavily explore. I think we need to possibly do this as a pilot program and also limit the certain fields that we would go for, that we don't want to do every field at once. We kind of want to, like I said, do it as a pilot program and see what comes out of it. It's, you know, I think it's a good idea for the town, at least the commission, to start looking at something like this. Stacy, what are your thoughts about it? And then I'll go kind of through Angela, and then I'll go into the commission of what you think we should do for something like this.
So just quickly,
Sure.
and Stacy, maybe you can reiterate. So can you also confirm what will happen in phase 3 to the fields that would be different than today to include that? Or are we just having no permits all summer? We are not allowing
No.
any field use. So if you can just include that in your.
So I can speak, then the person from Blue Lotus is also requesting to speak. So at some point when you're ready, you want me to do it now or after I can allow them to speak?
I want to hear from the staff, or from you folks first in the commission, and then if Kristen, if you don't mind, we'll have your question at the end. That would be great, because maybe we might even answer that question throughout the discussion we're going to have.
Sure. So my thoughts are, at this point in time, I think it would be great for the community to allow some usage of our fields for-profit. That being said, there's also a question about nonprofits that are also struggling. Speaking of things like the Y, and I agree that we should do it as a pilot program, because while this summer we may have plenty of space to rejigger things around because of the lack of usage from the sports leagues due to COVID, that may not be the same for every summer or fall or spring. And then if it works out to be a good collaboration between the town and the private organizations, I think we have to really come up with some solidify of running programs either through us or in collaboration or partnerships or as a vendor in order to move forward. But I think for this summer, with all the closings that have gone on, I think it might be worth a shot to try it for the summer.
Okay. Angela, like to get your opinion. That's not on mute.
The space bar does not work. I tried it again.
I'd love to get your thoughts on this. What do you think?
I think go along with what Stacy has said. And that's about it.
Okay. All right. Now I will hear from the commission. Cindy, what are your thoughts?
Hi, thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't think our policy really provides for this. So, and that's why I asked for this policy to be sent out so that we could all take a look at it. These are very different times. I will give you that. But in the past, when we set up this policy, it was for nonprofits. It was for Needham groups, Needham nonprofits, sports groups, other organizations. And I'm just trying to recall if we have permitted a group on the fields that was a for-profit organization. Years back, we had a lacrosse group that came in that somehow couldn't prove to us they were a nonprofit. And we told them if they couldn't prove it to us that we wouldn't take them back. And the next year, lo and behold, they came back and they had gotten the nonprofit status. So we held pretty firmly, have held pretty firmly to that, primarily because when we did all of the fields, the Field of Dreams, then we did the lights, we told the community we weren't doing it to rent out the fields as much as to provide field space for our Needham youth and our Needham sports groups and our Needham adults. So we've held pretty fast that. I look in the policy, I don't think it's prohibited. And if anyone sees that on the staff, if you see that, I would love to see that. Because that being said, I think that there are some people in town, some small organizations that could really probably use our field space, and knowing that someone is on here from what I believe is a yoga type group, I can't think that they will harm our fields. But the one reason we didn't go for-profit organizations in the past, one of the reasons was they don't have the same vested interest in protecting our fields and our facilities as our Needham sports groups, our Needham youth groups, even our Needham adult groups. And so we never wanted to get into that. But the bottom line was we didn't have space. We really didn't have time, so we didn't have to address it. And I recall so many times we'd have an out-of-town nonprofit come and ask for space, and we'd say, absolutely no, we don't have space. So, so I'm mixed on this. I'm not crazy about opening it up to for-profit groups. I think we would have to be very cautious about what we did, because I think there are groups like the YMCA that maybe would run some more programs if they thought our fields were going to be open to them and we were going to permit things. So I guess I'm torn right now. I'm very sympathetic to especially small businesses that need help, and if we can help and help the community, that's great. On the other hand, we haven't done that as far as I can recall. And I would look to the staff, and Stacy, I know you don't have a lot of history, but I look to the rest of the staff if they have any recollection that we have done something like this.
No, you're right, Cindy, that we've been very firm with nonprofit status the entire time I've worked for the department.
Okay. So that's where I am, Chris. I guess I would entertain it. I would be extremely cautious. And again, I don't see that we have prohibited that, but we have never wanted to open that particular door, and we didn't generally have space anyway. So it wasn't a door that we really had to worry about opening.
Okay. All right. No, all valid points, all good points. Michelle, love to get your perspective on this.
Yeah, I think I'm more aligned with Cindy. I think it feels a slippery slope to me that once we start with one organization, it'd be very difficult to argue why others can't use it. I think it'd be very difficult. I don't know how we would choose which ones we're using the pilot for. I think prioritizing those that wouldn't do do damage to the fields. But, you know, having yoga mats on grass is not great either. It's also very hot on turf. It's like there are, you know, pluses and minuses. I don't know if there's ways of using like parking lot space and permitting that so that people can continue to use the outdoor fields. I mean, our people are only truly, you know, allowed to be using the parks. That's only just started, and to then be cutting off sections of parks for profit organizations doesn't actually feel that great to me. I think that there's other ways that we could be potentially using the fields. I think there's all of these high schoolers, as we've seen, that are, you know, are no longer employed. They're wanting to you know, make some money and offering private lessons. Like, to me, that's different than having a business in Needham. So I just think that there's things to consider if we're going to be creating guidelines around how we're choosing which for-profit organizations or individuals we're allowing access to the fields. Because now that we do have more space, we can't use that as a reason for not allowing access to the fields. It's not due to a limitation of space. It would be truly, you know, it would have to be due to another restriction that would, you know, prevent us from allowing a large group of for-profit organizations from using the fields. So it just, to me, it just feels like it'll be very difficult to distinguish who we'd allow and who we wouldn't.
Okay. Very good points also. Bruce, I'd love to have you weigh in on this, please.
Sure. I think that the whole idea of opening the fields is to get as many residents out there doing things that they should do properly. If the fields are filled with people that are not for profit, or residents just using the fields for their organizations, I'm not sure how the town benefits from doing programs that are for profit. I mean, but if there is time and space available, then it's still just holding back Needham residents from getting out there and getting back to a more typical life. So I think it should be allowed only if the fields are available.
Okay. All right. I think it's great. I mean, everyone did bring up good points on this one. And, you know, I do agree. It's a pilot program. This is something that we want to try out. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I think we start small and see where it goes. That if we find out that an organization, it's not, you know, following the rules that they're supposed to be, then we won't go through with the rest of, you know, of a pilot program or continue to do it into next seasons. I think this is, you know, a time to be looking at it because of the times that we're in. The way I envision it is that we would have select times only at select fields on select days. I know it's kind of a wordy, but hypothetically, say that you were to pick, let's just say cricket field, that I envision cricket field Monday through Friday from 6:30 in the morning till 9 o'clock in the morning. That would be the time frame that we would do a certain pilot program. We wouldn't give this, you know, organizations, oh, whatever time that fits for you works for us. We would have to designate a certain time in a certain area that you could do this pilot program. If you don't do it in those areas and you go to other places, then we will end the pilot program. So I think if we set up certain restrictions to follow and see how it goes, I think that's a start of how we need to do it. It makes sense to get the people out there, you're right, but we also don't want to take away from the rest of Needham. I do see the points of, yes, we do have some kids that are intended to be working at other jobs that they don't have that money coming in right now, so they're looking to do things, and we have a policy saying that you're not allowed to give private lessons on fields. That I think with a for-profit organization, you know, such as this, I think it also comes down to the use. I don't want to have a whole gym set up at a field. I think something like a yoga mat, something like, you know, very relaxed and, you know, not a lot of equipment. I think those are the kind of ones that we have to target, and they are our fields, and we get to decide who gets into this program and who doesn't, or who would get the permit and who wouldn't, because we're going to have those reasons behind it of, oh, you can't have this type of equipment on the field because you're going to cause damage to the field. I think we would need to look at each and every one of them and kind of develop the policy out of that Because it is our fields, and yeah, we make that final call.
So you would lump the individual coaching into this whole.
No, I wouldn't do the individual coaching right now. I'm just saying, you know, if we were to do something like that, again, we'd have to set up a specific time. That if you're going to do individual coaching, you would have to do it at a particular field at a particular time. You can't go wherever you want and just pick up where it is. We would have to designate those areas for those certain times. And if you don't follow that and you go somewhere else, great, you're in violation of the policy. Question, Cindy.
Mr. Chair, I think I'm a no on this idea. Sorry, I'm just not comfortable. We haven't given any permits to the groups that would have liked to have permits. So to entertain the idea that we would now let for-profit groups on our fields makes me very uncomfortable. I think if we want to be able to offer permits to our groups as it is allowed under the state guidelines, that we should do that first and not take up space with the for-profit groups. And I'm sorry about that, because I know that there are some organizations that could maybe benefit from this. But I feel strongly that the taxpayers pay for these fields to be in the condition that they're in, and they're usually in great condition. And I'm not sure that we should be renting our fields out at this point. And I'm also not in favor of those people who are taking advantage and just going on and giving private lessons and making their own money. And they need to be told when we see them that that's not allowed. And I think it would be a good idea for our public information officer to occasionally send out a note that says, hey, just so you know, we don't condone anyone giving private lessons on our field. So that if something happened, we don't know they have insurance, but we've told them they shouldn't be there. So if they're there, hopefully that prevents us from having any liability. But I'm just not comfortable with going down, and only because I'm going to tell you, we spent years on these policies. We went around and around, and we have lots of private groups that would like to use our fields and would have liked to use our fields over the years. And we finally decided it was not a good idea. So I'm not comfortable changing that.
Okay. All right. Any other comments or questions? And if not, I'll go back to Stacy to see if she wants to input anything else. And then I think we should allow one of our guests to have those questions answered that were asked. So Stacy, any follow-up? And if not, we'll go to the two questions, please.
Yep, there was one question that came up just a few minutes ago, and then we can allow Kirsten. Then I can allow Kirsten to speak.
Sure.
The second question that came up that said, "Will you be giving preference to in-town nonprofit organizations for field usage, and how would scheduling piloting work if multiple for-profit businesses want to use the fields?"
That's a good question. I mean, this is something that we're first time really venturing into. So I wish I could really have the answer to that question right now, but it's something we would have to look into to see how we are going to handle something like that.
Okay. And if you're ready, I can allow Kirsten Allen to speak if everybody's
Please.
ready. All right, Kirsten, let's see. You should be able to.
Hi.
Yep, we can hear you.
Great. Hi, my name is Kirsten Allen. First, I just want to thank you so much for letting me speak to your group. And as you all know, or perhaps I'm one of the co-owners of Blue Lotus Healing Arts. I'm an acupuncturist, a healer, and one of our main services is yoga. So I hear everyone's concerns, and I respect everything that's been said. I think I would like to just ask you to really consider what is so unusual or so unique about the situation. As you know, but the pandemic is causing people to be completely unsafe to be indoors. We are still waiting for free, and what's happening, and therefore, the only way we can offer classes safely is to be outdoors. And as you know, the residents of Needham and all of Massachusetts have been asked to stay at home since March 15th. And it is a part of people's regular routine to exercise in classes. Of course, we've made great efforts with Zoom, but as you guys also probably can understand, as the weather gets warmer, people want to be outdoors. So it's healthier for them to be outdoors. It's safer for them to be outdoors. And that's why I am making this request. We don't require a lot of space. I respect the fact that there's, very much a concern for field, the grass. We would be more than happy to be as flexible as you would require to maintain the grass, to obviously to follow social distancing, because we also are concerned for the health of our own teachers. But as a healer, I respect that the residents of Needham have also been under duress. There's been a great deal of uncertainty and outright fear for becoming sick. So even when Governor Baker says to us, okay, now we can have some indoor classes, we all know people will very slowly and very carefully make those choices to come back indoors. Listen, I don't want to take up space from the YMCA or other young people who would like to give individual classes, etc. But I'm wondering if there's enough space, even if it's just for 2020, for us to share the space that's out there. Because I'm sure typically little leagues or all the kids leagues take up all the space anyway. And I applaud and I want to acknowledge the town of Needham for going out of their way and reaching out to the restaurants and making space for them. Because honestly, for a small business to survive 3 to 4 months without being able to work is, as you know, unbelievably difficult. South Boston Yoga has closed its doors. So I am seeing peers not be able to make it. I love the idea of the pilot program. I love the idea of creating certain time and spaces. Listen, we are incredibly flexible. If you would allow us to help, if you would allow us to have this opportunity to offer these classes to the students who are regulars who would benefit greatly. Structured outdoor classes for adults is actually incredibly worthwhile. Gets us back to some normalcy. And yeah, I think that covers a lot. I guess I want to really impress on the fact that it would be very healing for residents and that we're super flexible. And to be honest with you, we really don't need a lot of space. I mean, we're not allowed to have more than 10 people, and it would make an enormous difference to my business, to my teachers, livelihoods. This isn't for fun, right? This is a true livelihood. And honestly, if you look around, we want to make sure towns have more than just banks in the downtown. I hope to maintain a healing center and offer, a sense of community for the town of Needham, and of course the surrounding towns as well, and not just fold. The last thing I would suggest, if you can consider allowing us to do this, you should talk to the gyms or the businesses who do the wellness sphere, just because some wellness spheres have certain demographics who wouldn't be able to make it as early as 6:30. Our most busy time frame, to be honest with you, our class would be at 9:30. So just to say that. So does that, do I offer anything that allows you to consider it further?
So Kristen, thank you very much for jumping on. I really do appreciate it. It's always good to hear from, the constituents and the people out there in the public. The thing about this, it is a discussion item and it's not an action item up for, voting, but it is something that we can, visit again. It's not like, we discuss it now, we'll never discuss it again. It's just, It's not an action item that we're going to put up for voting, but it is something that we can still continue to have conversations internally with the commission and with the staff. And, you know, if something that we need to come back up and change the policy, we can definitely do it. But as of right now, I mean, this is just the first time we're discussing kind of an item like this, so we really can't vote on this.
I see. Wait, just ask you, what would be a typical time frame to actually put it into place, as probably the, you know, to be realistic, we might be able to do outdoor activities through September. The clock is ticking. We're on the doorstep of July.
I mean, this is something that we can put on our agenda, you know, for a few times and kind of, you know, check in on it. And if there's any new updates, especially with everything that's going on, if we're at least to put this on the agenda in regards to changing a policy, you're at least looking at minimum probably a month period, if not a little bit longer, because we do meet every other week. So if this is a discussion item this week, it would have to be another discussion item for another time. And if we decided at that next meeting that is something that we need to move into an action item, it would then have to go to the meeting after that. So there you're at least looking a month, if not longer. We're also missing one of our commission members tonight. So we would have to actually, you know, vet it with him, because when we do vote, we want to have everybody's input on the commission.
I understand. Well, I appreciate that information. And I would appreciate the conversation to go on, and
Sure.
if I could provide any other further information or appease any other concerns or worries. I'd be more than happy to, you know, email, respond. Please know this matters a lot to us. I'm standing up and speaking here for at least 12 different teachers who would love to be able to run their classes, and who their hands are tied here, and obviously for safety reasons. But thank you for your time then.
And thank you very much for speaking up tonight. We do appreciate this.
Thank you.
Kirsten, I'm going to go ahead and mute you now. So if you have any questions, you just type them into the question and answer box.
Okay, now moving on in regards to our discussion items, let's move on to letter B, the boat launch. Stacy, I'm going to let you field that one, because I know you had a great conversation last Wednesday. If you can fill in the staff and the commission, that would be greatly appreciated.
Sure. The meeting was very quick. It was a, well, especially for me, catching me up on the project. It is a project that it's one of those items that's been on the list that we're trying to check off. So we got together some people from, we had Tony, myself, DPW, and town management there, and as well as the Board of Selectmen, to talk about the design for the South Street boat launch. Right now there's a $30,000 budget for the design. And so the things that we are considering are conservation permitting and survey information using a non-hardscape surface. And I'm just reading through some of the bullet points from our notes, just so you're aware. The next step is we're going to reach out to Ty and Bond to make sure they have the necessary conservation permitting experience, because of where the boat launch is scheduled to be located. There's obviously a lot of permitting involved. So we want to make sure that we go with a firm that has comfortable and some experience doing that. The timeline is to have a contract in place by the end of this July, work on draft design and construction costs estimated by mid-September, finalize numbers for November CPC application, and submit CPC application for funding in FY22. Construction to occur after June 2021.
Okay. Well, for a very short meeting, that was a very detailed note, so thank you for that.
That's Harris's notes. Those are not mine.
That's
I
why.
cannot take credit for that.
All right, I'll go down the line. Cindy, any questions, comments in regards to the boat launch? And we lost her.
No.
Oh, she is.
I know, much to Stacy's surprise. No, thank you for that summary, Stacy, but I not have a question on it, but I might think of one before the meeting's over, but no, thank you.
Right. Michelle, any questions? All right, no for Michelle. Bruce, any questions?
Yeah, what is the location of the boat ramp?
If you were to go down Dedham Ave and where was South Street connect, is like, so you're leaving Needham, you take that left, like you're almost going to St. Sebastian's, it comes up right on the right side.
Amongst all the pine trees there.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Just curious. I'll take a look at it.
So, I mean, there's an area there now that's kind of, I don't want to say paved out, but marked out that people can walk down there. I even think there's a small little parking area there, but there's no boat launch or anything that's there right now. It's just, that's how you get in.
So it's good like plastic kayaks and maybe some
Canoe, yep.
Yeah.
Something along those lines. So,
okay.
All right.
That's it.
All right.
Thanks.
The design is not supposed to be very technical or advanced, but the reason for the design and having an outside firm doing it, besides the time crunch for our DPW side, is really a lot of the permitting, is what I was told. Is there's just going to be massive amounts of permitting, so it's good to have an outside contractor do those kinds of things.
And somebody from the Conservation Committee was on there? I'm sorry, Bruce.
Anything near the water, you have to, there's a lot.
Exactly. Yep.
Sure. So
Exactly.
you have to get all your ducks in a row for sure.
Okay.
Concom was not there, but
Okay.
they will be involved, especially as we get closer to the surveying.
Got it. All right. Any other questions, comments, concerns in regards to the boat launch?
There's none on this, Chris. There's a follow-up question back on the field usage for for-profits.
Sure.
It is, I would like to ask, what are the town's priorities around supporting small business, i.e. the outdoor seating for takeout on the town green? Is there precedent around helping other small businesses with public outdoor space?
Let's see. So, I mean, I know the town is very, applicable to helping out as many of the small businesses as they can. In regards to the small businesses, I mean, they came to us asking permission to put picnic tables on Greens Field because that is part of our parcel of land. And, I thought it was a great idea. But in regards to other parcels or other parts that the select board and the town manager are discussing, I don't have an exact answer for that. But it is something that we do work. And if we need to have a chairs meeting to discuss, a question like that, because I would not want to be misquoted or give inaccurate information in regards to answering for the select board. But I have no problem forwarding this question to them and getting a response and having it sent back to the representative, the person that asked the question.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. All right. Letter C, moving on. Walker Pond.
Been in email conversation with Dan Gilmartin. I didn't get a chance to reach out to pull together the focus group, but it is high on my priority list this coming week. I did reach out to Dan and find out what type of members they were thinking of as part of this focus group.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd love the commission to weigh in. They were requesting DBW, Concom, CPC, and potentially health department or a member from those departments, plus somebody from our department. Just wondering if you think that is enough, too many, if you have any suggestions on others.
Can you do me a favor, go through the list that they're asking again? You have Conservation Committee, you got CPC. What are the other ones, please?
DPW, I'm assuming Parks and Forestry,
Yep.
and the health department.
Okay.
And Cindy, she volunteered.
That was last year that I volunteered.
I think most of those are fine, and this is just in my opinion, most of those are fine, but CPC, I'm from sitting on the CPC board, is that you really don't advise a group until someone puts something in. So to have a CPC member on there before you submit an application, it just seems like it's going a little backwards. But again, I haven't sat on the CPC for that long, but I've never had a group come to us before, say, hey, listen, what do we need to do to get this done? And then they submit it. It's always been the user groups come to CPC, CPC vets it, and then asks questions and then goes through the process. So that would be the only one that I would have a concern or question with of, is that the right procedure to do it that way?
I'm guessing Kristen has the same thought on that. Kristen?
Yeah, so CPC is a funding source of the town, and it's a grant request, so they're application based. So the application comes before the CPC, and the CPC is not like an acting committee that comes on to focus groups. The only other person that we had discussed before to add to this focus group is the town engineer.
I was lumping him in with the DPW, but if you want to specify him, that I'm fine with that too.
Yeah, my guess is, from what I understand, the original process they went through got stalled at CPC, or the project got, it didn't keep going once it got to CPC. So my guess is they were like, well, we'll get somebody on that and that will help us. But I think still they're not quite clear on the town government side of things. So I can definitely push back on that one. I agree.
Okay.
So Stacy, the reason it got stalled at CPC was because they came before CPC without all owners.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so Park and Rec is a large owner, a majority owner, and that's why it got pushed back, was because they came before the CPC with an application that the CPC could not actually respond to, or they actually deferred it because Park and Recreation, a landowner of that property, was not involved.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Just quickly, any, show of hands, any questions, comments in regards to this? Either Cindy, Michelle, or Bruce?
No questions.
Nothing.
And do we get the timing of when we would need to be on the capital plan in order to get into the CPC?
I originally remember hearing town engineer saying it's got to be on someone's 5-year plan. Now, it could be Park and Rec, it could be Conservation Committee, it could be town engineer. It just has to get on somebody's plan. Someone has to be the champion of the cause, if you want to word it that way.
Right, at some point,
Mm-hmm.
like in 2020, in order to get.
It's probably for 2021.
Gotcha.
Minimum.
Right.
Okay. Bruce, any questions?
I do have a quick question.
Sure, go ahead.
I'm not aware what the plan is for Walker Pond.
Okay, give you a brief little recap. The Walker Pond.
We can do it separately too.
Okay, all right, yeah. What we'll do is I will take that offline.
Yeah.
I'll go over the history of it. So, but it's something, that it does need to be looked at. It's just that it's a timing issue. So I will definitely, speak with you offline. We'll go over the history of the Walker Pond.
All right, perfect. Thanks.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yep.
if you don't mind, maybe we could make sure to put in our minutes for this meeting that we would like this to be considered for the capital plan when our director is asked to work on the capital plan for Park and Rec, and that could be an item for us to talk about at that point, because it should be on the capital plan. And if we are supporting it by doing this focus group, I would assume that we would most likely vote to include it in the capital plan.
Sure. No, that's a good call. The only other thing I'd like to add is, and I know Stacy, you got a lot on your plate, but if we could at least have a somewhat of an email sent out to the people that were listed on there along with their group, I think we owe it to them to have something to them by the end of this business week, please. Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you. All right, let's go on to the next item we have on the agenda for discussion items, letter D. Let's go into staffing. Who wants it?
It's going great.
Let's get a little more teeth.
Oh, okay.
How is it going great? Tell me why it's going great.
The staff is doing a great job doing interviewing, getting people through HR, getting them on payroll. It is crazy. It is busy, and they are killing it. They're knocking out the park. So I will let Angela speak to that. But is it a giant hustle on both the pool and program side of things, and they're doing a great job. And Kristen is nagging's not the right word, following up frequently with our staff to make sure their paperwork gets in a timely fashion.
Nagging is appropriate.
Yep. All right, and
Kristen's our paper pusher. She gets all the paper and she gets the job done for us. Our staff, our pool staff has been on board all week. Well, they started last Thursday and has been helping us out tremendously. We've been able to vacuum the lap pool today or last week and somewhat today, and and be able to get the majority of the stuff out of that pool. We're working on getting more lifeguards on board and kind of doing a stagger approach so Kristen can get as much in as she possibly can without overloading HR. Chris has submitted a stack full of program people to get pushed through as well. Their supervisory staff is on board right now as well. They're working virtually though. And that's about it for staff. We're still interviewing for the pool, and lifeguards are flying in like crazy, which is great. We just hired a kid that was supposed to be at camp all summer in New Hampshire, lifeguard certified, going to be a sophomore in college and had no place to go. So we welcomed him aboard. And so I have a feeling that we're going to get a lot of those kids trickling in right now. We had another one from Charles River come in, and we've had another one from the JCC come in. So they're coming in pretty frequently right now. So we're trying to interview them right now. We interviewed a kid today, and so that's going to be on top of that, of interviewing and trying to give some directive down at the pool so we can get stuff done.
Angela, I know this is going to be a loaded question to ask,
Yeah.
but if we were to go with the best case scenario, if we need X amount of staff to run our pool, do you think we're going to come close? We're going to have too many, or just right?
I think we're going to have just enough, but I think they're going to be trickling in,
Okay.
just like they were last summer. Sometimes they go to a place of work and they're not really confident there, and they tend to come our way, which last year worked out great for us because we ended up with a lot of part-time people.
Okay.
So that, but we'll be working in teams, but as the restrictions kind of loosen up a little bit, I have a feeling that things might be a little bit easier. So we'll be able to throw in some part-time staff later on as well.
Okay. All right, great. Any questions? Sorry, Kristen, please, you have your hand raised.
I'll just say I know it's been a concern of the commission in the past about HR. The team from HR has been super helpful from my aspect. Stacey and I met with them, and we worked out a plan to try to fast track these guys to get them on staff a little bit quicker than a normal season and a normal timeline, because by this point in the summer we would have already had everyone on. And so getting everyone on now is going to be an undertaking from both sides. So they've been super helpful, super understanding, and been there for us the whole time.
Can't say that they love us, but they're definitely pushing for us.
Oh yeah, they definitely don't love us. They never love us.
Come on now. All right, any questions from the commission? Cindy, Michelle, or Bruce? And I'll go to Cindy first, please.
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. Just a question on what the lifeguards are doing, and what you're having some of the other staff doing as they come on, since we're not opening for potentially 5 weeks.
Yep.
So, I know there is training and preparing for the training and all that, but if you could just kind of briefly take us through what you're having them do, and what the time is when you think that you would have all of them on board. And if you said that, I might have missed it. Sorry.
No, I haven't said that yet because we're not really sure when we're going to have them on board. We're kind of doing the staggered approach right now, gathering as many as we can together and giving them to Kristen, so we're not overloading her with everything. So like I gave her a stack of, I don't even know how many this week, maybe 10.
15.
Oh, sorry. And that stack keeps growing. It keeps getting bigger. So I keep adding to it. But what we're doing down at the pool right now is they're taking off all the drain covers on the decking. They're taking off the grate covers that go around each pool. So there's coverings that go around the lap pool and the family pool. All those covers have to be taken off. Everything in the drainage area has to be swept out, cleaned out, vacuumed out. The drain holes need to be we need to make sure that that's all clean and clear so the water can drain properly. Right now, last week we opened up the drain covers on the decking, and there was about 2 inches of muck just caked in there, because we hadn't been able to take them off last year. And a lot of it has to do with the sand too, because that's the side that we ended up being able to take the covers off of the drains. So the lap pool right now is all vacuumed out. Inside the pool, we're still working on it. The drainage areas are all vacuumed out, and we have to scrub them with stainless steel. Barkeeper's friend, and so that's needs to be done as well. So all around the lap pool has to be scrubbed and cleaned. And then all the railings, the lifeguard chairs, all that metal that you guys see, all has to be scrubbed down. It takes about 2 hours, an hour and a half to scrub each chair, 2 hours to scrub the long railings, enough to get all of that stuff off. Once they're done with the lap pool, then they have to go to the family pool and vacuum all that stuff out of the drainage in the family pool as well, and scrub all the stainless steel there. So we have it broken down into what they can do, what they can't do this afternoon. A lot of them scrubbed a lot of the stainless steel. I didn't check it though. So tomorrow I will check it to make sure, because I have a feeling they didn't scrub it as well as well as they should have, only because it does take a lot of manpower to get that stuff off. And then once that's done, we have to spray or use the power washer to spray down the decking, possibly do the doors if we have seal, like the coating for the doors, because they're looking a little rough right now. And we also have to bring up the covers for the pool, undo those, power wash those.
No, thank you. You don't
Sorry.
have to.
That's what they're all doing down there right now.
Nothing. It's nothing going on.
I didn't doubt that you had put them to use. I was just curious, like the lifeguard for 5 weeks without an open pool.
I thought you were asking what they were all doing. So that's our list.
That's briefly, my gosh.
That's this week's list. Next
Right.
week's list will be much different.
Well, thank you.
Sorry, Cindy.
But I totally appreciate that. Thank you for answering the question. I'll mute myself.
And Angela, once the group comes in to formally open the pool, they will need to remove themselves from the pool area, right? There's not enough space for.
We've actually been able to work around some of the workers down there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you
I've really enforced the social distancing with them. Make sure you keep on your masks. I know that a lot of it's hard work. You guys are out in the sun. So if you guys want to take your masks off, you need to make sure that you're plenty of distance away from each other. And they've been really good about it. It's really hot out there on the deck. But they've been doing a great job. And, they've been doing such an awesome job that they've been coming in. They don't even ask what they really have to do. They just go get the stuff and they get right to work, which is like, that's a godsend. It's very different than what usually happens. They're a great, great crew. I'm really psyched to have them on board this summer.
Oh, that's good. That is definitely good to hear. Any other questions, Bruce? Any follow-up questions?
No, to comment that you never underestimate the amount of work it is to take care of a pool that size, or a boat. Boats and pools are the same. They take awful lot of work, a lot of elbow grease. So
Yeah.
it's
Ice
nice
rinks
to
are
like
the
that.
same too.
Yeah, they're staying busy. That sounds great.
Yes, for sure.
Thanks for the report.
Oh, you're welcome.
Hey, the space bar works now. That's great. All right. Anything else in regards to staffing at all? All right. Now,
Somebody pressed your space bar, Chris.
Didn't work so well.
all right. How about now? We good? All right. Let's jump into the pool. Literally, how are we looking? How are we
boy.
doing contract-wise? I mean, I'm assuming if there are workers down there, that's thumbs up.
So yes, there are workers down there. If you go on the pool and program doc, if you go down to item number 8, the quick recap is Weston and Sampson came last week to pop off the cover, which you all know is not a quick, small job. We've been vacuuming, as Angela said, and then they are coming back. Once the pools are vacuumed, then the team, Ange and weigh in on this, is once the pools are both vacuumed, then they can start coming in and doing the bigger opening process. Is that correct?
Yeah, once the pools are vacuumed and we get our perlite shipment in, that should be good to go. We got to fill up the pool a little bit and scrub those drains.
So that's where we are on that. Kristen is following up on a regular basis with Pure Aqua to get the perlite. I don't know if you connected with them today.
I left a message, but
Okay.
I'm a world-class nagger, so.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, I may just drive over there if we don't hear from them and be like, what's happening? Just be like, this is my truck now, and drive away.
The
So
ejection pit is being pumped out tomorrow morning, which is a
Yay.
big to do. Our chlorine arrived today, which was fun.
Going back quickly, Stacy, you were mentioning about the Pure Light stuff. Is it because everyone that's doing a pool is ordering all at the same time right now, or is it just they're not getting back to us?
I think knowing Pure Aqua, they're just not getting back to us. And probably there's a big demand for it because the pools that are opening are probably going to them for this particular item. You're muted. Stop using the space bar.
I wasn't even touching it. Didn't even touch it. Oh, but it's a popular thing. It's not like it's a special order kind of thing. It's a very popular item that gets used in the pools all the time. All right.
Sounds good. Okay. So then running over that document, if nobody has any more questions about registration, not registration, contractor. The document, Ange has a question.
I don't have a question, but I wanted to let you guys know that the concrete guys were here today, and they're here all week to fix the railings at the pool.
What is wrong with the railings at the pool that the concrete guy needs to be there?
Nothing after next week.
He needs to fix all the stuff that was broken all along the water's edge, lakeside edge.
I didn't know there was broken stuff. Is that something that we found?
You saw them.
Okay. All
They
right.
were cracked before. They're really broken now. So
Chris,
he was
those
there.
wires.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
COVID brain, Chris, not your fault.
All right. Wonderful.
He was
Thank you.
there all week though.
And are we feeling that the contractor is on schedule. They arrived last week, or we're just they have to wait for it to be vacuumed to really get moving. Yeah.
Yeah, they sent us a crew as early as they could just to get that cover off. Like we were really like, please. And they did it. And now they're just waiting for us to get the pool vacuum so they can come back. So thankfully we have some staff down there that are just hustling and working real hard.
And do we expect the pool vacuuming, I'm sorry, by the end of the week?
No.
2
It'll
weeks?
probably be next week.
Okay.
Yeah, the
All right.
lap. We found a duckling in our lap pool today, and a bullfrog, a good-sized bullfrog, and a turtle. So, just saying, we have a little aquarium down there.
Okay. We'll hold off the policies for the pool until that's an action item, correct?
Well, we can do it simultaneously if you'd like.
All right. Does the commission feel up to it?
Oh, Cindy's ready.
Oh, right.
Cindy's ready.
We've just never had someone who would allow us to take something from the bottom category and move it into the top category to vote. I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot of years on the commission.
I just think it makes sense to just talk about it and then vote right away.
Yeah,
All right, let's hit it.
no part in it at all.
Okay. So if you look at the pool program doc, the most updated one that I emailed to you this afternoon, because there was some slight changes. I tried to be as thorough as possible to assuage any questions, but I'm sure we'll get a couple. So I don't want to read through the whole thing. If you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer anything, but it is pretty detailed and outlined. If there's I can summarize it if that helps for the pool.
I love how it's open 6 days a week. I know we were originally talking for 5 days to get 6 days. I think it's great, and I think the Sunday reserved for deep cleaning, smart move.
And like Angela mentioned this earlier, if things relax, then we could potentially move it we can potentially open on a Sunday if things begin to relax. If things go, but we really need some time to figure out, get our feet wet, make sure that we know what we're doing down there, and get this schedule underway. So, and again, I'm just trying to look at this and speak at the same time. We all know that I'm not great at that. So what we're looking for you guys on the pool is to vote on the pool as well as the fees, which are on down at number 9, pool registration.
Damn, that damn space bar. I'll go through the commission. Cindy, questions, highlights, things you'd like to have either questions or comments about?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Sorry, I'm hearing it. So reserving Sunday for deep cleaning. I'm glad you're going to take a day and do deep cleaning. Is Sunday the best day, or is that a day when you think residents will use the pool? I felt like Saturdays and Sundays may have been big days, but I could be wrong. I never went on a Sunday. I'd just be concerned to close on a weekend when perhaps families would go. So that is my major question.
So we went back and forth about this. I think we need a day for cleaning. We need to be able to prepare for it. We are, as you can see, we are not going to do lap swimming on Saturdays. So to take away another day for lap swimmings, that's not a word, for swimming, could potentially be frustrating to our lap swimmers. So we wanted to make sure that we were, being equitable. I think Sunday's the best day for the deep cleaning. I think it's going to take us a whole day for the new protocols and to make sure that we understand, like for the staff to really understand how to do it. My history is Sundays are typically not as busy. I'm not at this pool, but my former life, Sundays were a calmer day, but I could be wrong. Also, you know, this is not going to be a similar year to any other year at any other pool. So who knows what's going to be busy? There's no way to say that a Wednesday afternoon is going to be less busy than a Sunday afternoon this particular year.
Mr. Follow-up question.
Please do.
Kristen or Angela, do you have any recollection or any data that would show that Sunday was not busy? Again, I don't quarrel with the day. I just don't want to be criticized by the community. Oh my goodness, they opened, halfway through the summer and they didn't even open on the weekends. I just want to be mindful of what the community would like and would use if we can at all accommodate. So I would ask our staff, and Stacy, I know you weren't here and I apologize. I actually don't know what the usage was last year on Sundays. Do either of you two know?
Sundays was a pretty busy day. But I think that with us opening on the weekends and just being residents only, I think we are going to come to some people just showing up at our facility regardless, because we had so many out-of-towners on the weekends where they would wait in line before coming into the facility. I think that we probably may need police detail on a Saturday just for that extra help. And again, we don't want to take away that lap swim too, or burn our staff out, even though it's a shorter period of time. Having them work on a Saturday and Sunday is a little much for them at this point right now. If we can move it in and we can add a Sunday to it, I think that would be beneficial.
Okay. I just wanted to be sure that it wouldn't be better to close on a Monday, for example. But I obviously would defer to you folks if that's what works best.
Yeah.
I would echo both Angela and Stacey. I think that we went from 5 days to finding a way to make a 6-day work, and in the future, a 7th day might be a possibility. But we're already adding a block on the weekend for family swim that is not during the week. So to add 4 blocks of time and take away 8 blocks of time, including 4 lap swimming, or 7 blocks time, 4 of lap swimming, at the end of the day, especially at the beginning, this seems like it's probably the best venture forward.
Okay.
in terms of scheduling.
Great, thank you.
Can I just ask a quick financial question? Not to sound cheap, but if we're going to be doing deep cleaning on Sunday, are we paying time and a half to the staff? Is it Sunday?
No, they never get paid.
Seasonal employees are exempt from time and a half.
I know that. That's great to know.
I agree fully with Cindy. I think we're going to get major backlash for not opening on Sunday, and I would recommend closing 2 days during the week if you can open it on Sunday. And I understand the importance of lap swimming, and maybe Sunday looks different, and we do introduce lap swim in the beginning of the day, and it more closely aligns with the weekday. I'm just looking at the weekday structure, but I think that's going to be a real sore spot for the community not to be open on a Sunday.
Valid point.
I think we're going to get more backlash from the lap swimmers, because we got a lot of backlash last year from the lap swimmers. And I think they were more of our backlash than anything last year. That's just from my personal experience last summer.
Last year we were in a different place last year. There are very few, as you all know, there are very few opportunities for little kids to be doing anything in this environment. They can't social distance with friends, so there's no way, you can't, hard for them to go to a park. I mean, we'll have the playgrounds open, but they have a hard time social distancing, swimming with the family. That's something that a family can do together, and it's stressful for parents with having to do all of their work at home, and to have a nice family outing just feels like that is important to have.
Would you move it more to a Tuesday through Sunday schedule, Michelle, if you had to pick? Okay.
I would.
All right, no, but Tuesday through Sunday. Bruce, what do you think?
I have no history to back it up, but it seems to me that doing the deep cleaning on Monday makes a lot more sense to me. People are, out doing stuff on the weekends, and the lap swimmers sound like it's a weekday event, so they may get shut out one day, but they still have plenty of days to go out and enjoy it. And Monday just seems to be like the shutdown day to do something like that. Saturdays and Sundays are kind of sacred, especially a lot of these parents are home working Monday through Friday, working from home, or some going to work. So they're out Saturdays and Sundays. It might be nice to have it available for them on Sundays as well.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Chaston.
I would just ask the staff to reconsider the day of the week that you close. I mean, I think we're all in favor of we need that day to deep clean, and we appreciate that you can be open for 6 days. I think that's great, because I think as many days as we can be open is going to be great for the community. But I would just ask you to reconsider to just perhaps be open on the weekends, and to take Monday as a cleaning day. And I think people are a little more conditioned to things being closed on Mondays. The RTS has been closed on Mondays for a long time. Many golf courses are closed on Monday. Clubs often close on Mondays because that's the day they do their maintenance. So I would think you get less pushback on a Monday than you will on a Sunday. So I would ask that you would reconsider. If you decide that it is still the best with your staffing, then I would support your decision.
Stacy, Angela, or Kristen, do you have any rough numbers? Like, are we looking at and I know last year was different compared to where it is this year, but do you have rough numbers of what we actually did on your typical Sunday to what we did on our typical Monday? Like, if it's only off by 100, I would have no problem having the pool closed on Monday. But if there's a significant change of, we only had 500 people on Sunday, but we had 1,000 or 1,500 people on Monday, that's a numbers thing. I mean, do we have rough estimates of what we did for Sundays and Mondays?
Kristen is saying 1 second.
All right.
I can tell you right now.
Up.
I can tell you right now, almost every weekend we had 1,000 people on both days. And we're looking at a lot of out-of-towners.
Right, which will change because we're not letting out-of-towners in this year.
Exactly.
So you said 1,000 on both days. That's for the weekend. That's Saturday and Sunday, correct?
No, that's each day.
For Saturday and Sunday, right? Or Sunday, Monday?
That's for Saturday and Sunday.
Okay,
Yes.
Saturday and Sunday. All right. And if we can get a rough of what we do on Mondays, I mean, Kristen's kind of frantically working.
Yeah, she's running them.
Okay.
But
Go ahead. No, I was going to say, while she's doing that, if there are other items that we want to go through while she's doing that, that would be
was my
great.
next question. Yeah, while she's running those numbers, is there anything else on the pool side of things?
I would just like our commission to think about our staffing components and the amount of staffing that we have to put out there, and the staff training that we have to put out there, and the fact that these guys don't really want to work on a Saturday and a Sunday, and that giving them one day for themselves, Mondays just aren't going to cut it for them. And I know that you guys don't agree with that, but we're talking about college kids and high school kids that still haven't been able to really hang out with their friends. And if things get loosened up, they're going to want to be there. And I understand that staffing might not be a reason, but we still have to think about all the stuff that they're doing. And if we don't have enough staff to keep that safe, then we're in trouble. And Board of Health can shut us down. And Tara's made that very clear to me.
So, Mr. Chair, if I
Yes, go right ahead.
So again, I would be respectful of your decision, you meaning Stacy, Angela, Kristen. It looks to me like it's 4 weekends. I don't want to have a staffing problem. I agree with you. We need to make sure that our staff is taken care of the same way we take care of our town employees. They are town employees. But I'm looking at my calendar, it would be 4 weekends. So I ask you to be mindful of that, I think. But again, if that, I would vote with whatever you folks decide is the right thing to do. I'm going to defer. You know much better than I do. But be prepared. You'll be prepared if you're going to get pushback or not. You'll get pushback regardless. But if that's what you think, then my vote would be whatever you recommend. I will support it. I think as a commission, we've made had our questions.
Yeah. And I also think that we have to keep in mind too that the college kids are going back to school 2 weeks earlier than normal. And that's just been put into place in the state of Massachusetts. So we have to be careful on that end too.
Kristen?
So the numbers support what Andrew was saying, that the weekends were busier by a great number. I would say a couple hundred a day. Comparatively, we're looking at about 1,100 on average daily admittances, comparatively to about 800 or 900 on a Monday.
Okay.
That all being said, I think, last year was our showboat year. We had a weird opening year, and then we had last year. So I think that we were all amazed at how many people we did have. And just to further the point, I think there are still a lot of people that may be concerned about going to pools, and they're in the community, and to offer it in this way with the addition to add the weekend, I think it's smart. But yeah, and the numbers again, like Ada said last year, that supports that Sunday is a busier than Monday.
Okay. I'm not muted. I agree. I see both ends of the argument, but again, these are people that they want to get out there. I mean, you guys know the staff, but we're looking at it as we're looking for the whole community here, and we're going to have the biggest numbers that we can make that happen. I got to go for the, close on Mondays, open Tuesday through Sundays. I mean, the numbers are there, and it's, Commissioner Chasten brought up, it's 4 weekends is what it is. So but that's what happens when you have a part-time job or you have a summer job, that you take the good and the bad, that if that's the weekend, then that's what you do. And I mean, I'm sorry not to try and seem mean, but that's what we're asking them to do. That's what we're hiring them to do a job. And if they don't want to work the weekends, then don't come and get a job.
And that's I'm going to speak again, because what ends up happening is they end up calling out sick at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. And now you're scrambling to find guards to fill those spots. And then you're short-staffed.
So it sounds like, let me just recap. It sounds like the staff feels one way, the commission has made their recommendations. I can't vote, but what I'd like to do is have you guys vote on us opening X number of days. And I think internally we need to have more discussions about the days of that we're going to open, because it's pretty clear where everybody stands. So instead of going around and around in a circle, I think we should pull some of this conversation offline What are your thoughts on that, Chris?
Oh, I agree. I think we're all good on a 6-day week. I think we just need to nail down what 6 days we're doing. So, I mean, I'm perfectly fine with, as commission saying, yes, we're going to do 6 weeks, and we can have internal conversation of what
4
those
weeks,
6 days.
8 days,
Sorry.
4 weeks.
6 days a week for 4 weeks, and what those days will consist of.
Okay.
Everyone agree to something like that? Okay. All right. I mean, I know you don't want to go line by line, but Stacy, what else are you looking to get feedback on that we can kind of get this thing
On the
like
pool
this
side,
candle?
there's nothing else. Just if you have any further questions on that. Cindy has a further question.
Mr. Chair, if I may ask a question.
She may.
Our policy on, I guess I need you to say yes, sorry. If this is our policy on pools, the fact that you put in there, the pool can open no sooner than the week of July 27th, but this will be tight. Are you suggesting it may not open the week of July 27th? That's a little bit troubling. That would be here in our pool kind of policy thing to me.
This is an internal document for us. This is not what we'll be publishing.
Okay.
So, it's just I put that it was tight because all along we've been saying it's a 6-week turnaround. This is a 5-week turnaround.
Okay. Just concerned with this document. I mean, it is a public document now that we've discussed it here, obviously.
It is.
But
Yep.
it's not something that we will publish. Okay.
Correct.
All right. And are we just talking about the pools, Mr. Chair, or are we talking about programs also?
Let's see, where was that on the agenda? I think it was the
Right
next,
after it.
right after. So let's roll right into that too, please. So if all the commission can go to the second part of the document that our director sent out in regards to programs, it is just a 1-pager, if I'm correct. Let's hear some feedback. What are we doing here? Children, first grade, 7th.
Cindy, you have a question, right?
I have a question.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
At least you know I read your package. You know
I do.
I don't know that you like that, but
Appreciate it.
item number 2, that the program is limited to Needham residents and children who attend public school in Needham. So that means kids who live in Needham but go to a school out of town or don't go to the public school can't take a program. That would be unusual for us to have that stipulation.
So,
No, I think you're reading that backwards. Like,
Oh,
say
it's
that you
open
have
to
people come
all
in and attend the
residents.
schools.
and basically the MECO program can also attend ours.
Oh, that's
But-
not how I read that. So I read that. So I understand now. It's to include.
It's to
Not-
include.
So
But what I was trying to say is if you live in Dover and attend a private school in Needham, you would not necessarily, you cannot attend this camp. If
Okay.
that is wrong, we can adjust it, but because it was non-resident to a private school, not the same as our MECO.
I was reading it as kids didn't go to the Needham Public School, even if they lived in the. Okay,
No.
sorry, my mistake. Thank you for clarifying that.
Mhm.
I know when we were looking at the ways of maximizing the number of kids, it would depend on the buildings that we would get, because some have, it looks like all the ones that we were able to get have a stage, there's more space. So I assume we got the schools that actually allow us to maximize the number of kids, or do we, okay, that's what it looked like. I was hoping that was the case.
Chris do his laundry while he's on these meetings. It's very loud.
I think it's his water boiler
Oh, okay.
or his HVAC.
Did we just lose him altogether? Where does he
Something
go?
happened. He's out.
He go?
Link drops.
And you can actually put that you're getting coffee. You can have a coffee break on Zoom if you're separated.
Oh.
Oh, he's back.
I muted you because it was too loud.
Sorry, I had to let the dog back in.
He doesn't even have a dog. No.
Oh, yes, I do. The cutest one in the world.
Oh boy. Okay, so basically on both the pools and programs, we definitely need you to vote on the pricing, certainly. And then the overarching opening procedures. This is a summarized document. There are 2 separate documents, one for the pool, one for the programs, that are in great detail that the Board of Health is working in conjunction with us to make sure that we are hitting all our protocols. And then what we will be sending out to the public will look very pretty and be very thorough and very clear. So this is like the summarized document of the crazy protocols, the 12-page protocols for the pool that we have to write, even though the protocol we got was 7 pages. So, I mean, that's just, it is what it is, but.
The Cliff Notes.
These are the, oh, you're showing your age, Chris.
Yeah, I am. Heard that from a friend. So, all right, I will entertain a motion, but it's gonna have to be 2 separate ones, one for the pool and one for the programming. So I will entertain a motion for the pool first, please.
But, Mr. Chair, and then will there be discussion?
There will be.
I have another question, but so I can wait.
We can always have discussion after a motion.
Okay, then I will make a motion that we accept the pool pricing, pool registration pricing as put forth by the staff on the document presented at tonight's meeting.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Discussion. Mr. Chaston.
Thank you. To sell a slot for $5 per person, wouldn't we just sell a slot for $20? If it's designed for 4 people, wouldn't you just sell it for $20 and they could bring 1, 2, 3, or 4 people? No. And what am I missing? Why wouldn't that make sense?
Public health, it requires them to be in the same household or the same family. So if I was a single mom with 1 kid, it would not seem fair to me to have to pay $20, where a, dual parent with 3 kids or 4 kids, we'd be paying the same price. That's where we came up with the $5 per person. There is a maximum amount of people allowed per slot because of the spacing. But that's where that number comes from.
So how many people can be in a slot? 4 people how many people can be in a slot? I'm sorry.
6.
6.
Yes, we can potentially take more, but we would ask those people to reach out to us, only because we want to make sure that they are in the same family as required by the public health department.
Okay. As an accountant, I would prefer that we sold a slot, but I understand that they would have to then bring someone who was a member of their family. Okay.
The other thing is the contract tracing portion of that. We need to know exactly who is in the facility at all times. So each individual will have to register individually. So they would potentially pay up to $80 for a family of 4 if we did a family unit, because in order to do it, you have to do it in an individual capacity.
So if someone buys this, if there's a slot that's empty and they buy it for themselves for $5, no one else can be in that slot. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
All right, any further questions or discussion in regards to the motion that's on the floor? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of approving the pool Cliff Note guidelines, say aye, or actually we'll go by roll call. Cindy Chaston.
Aye.
Michelle Geddes.
Aye.
Bruce Williams.
Aye.
The chair is also an aye, so passes unanimously. All right.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I believe Ms. Chasten's motion was only for the pricing, not the policies. Is that correct, Cindy?
All right, I will reward that it is strictly just for the pricing and not for the policy for the pool.
Because I hadn't actually finished the policy, correct?
Still have some work, so you're right. All right, so it's just for the pricing of the pool. Okay, thank you for catching me on that one. Anything else that we need to do in regards to the pools, or do we move next on to the programming? Stacy.
How do you feel about voting on the overarching policies of the protocols of the pool, so that we can move forward and start advertising before the next 2 weeks? Or do you want to have another meeting to vote on the days of the week?
I would think we'd want to kind of have everything nailed down before we go. So I think if we can have some internal discussions beginning, I know it's Monday, but by at latest midweek to kind of get this nailed down, because I don't want this getting longer and getting put on the back burner. So if we can have internal discussions within the next 1 to 2 days, I would like to do that.
Agreed.
Make sure that we have Devin on board to discuss the pool, please.
Yes.
Sure. Does the commission agree with that thought of waiting internally for the 1 to 2 days to have that discussion? Thumbs up? Okay, thumbs up. All right, anything else in regards to the pool? Nope, okay. Now let's move on to programming. Here you just need an approval on the pricing also? Or are we good with both pricing and policy?
Pricing and
Is on the
protocol.
motion.
Protocol.
Both.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion if you would entertain one.
You, of course.
Make a motion that we accept the program policies and pricing as presented in the document presented to us at tonight's meeting.
All right, I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
One quick thing. But have we
Go ahead.
thought about splitting the week in half so we get more families serviced, but not for as long of a period of time? So having 2-day sessions for, however many families that would allow, but then having another group come in the next 2 days. So or 3 days sessions, 2 days. So not having a full week, but you then
Oh, okay.
families, because here we're not going to be touching that many overall families in Needham by providing the full week. But if we split the week in half and add, the same number of people, but a family would only be able to register for one of those sessions, given the constraints in the number of weeks or days available.
So have 2 sessions in 1 week. So do a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday as session 1. Session 2 would be Thursday, Friday.
Yeah.
All right. From what I know is you would probably need separate staff for that second session, correct? Stacy or Angela or Kristen?
Oh, I think it's an interesting question. The feedback that we got from the survey is heavier on the half day, not insignificant on the full day. But there was no comments about half of a week. And I don't know that Board of Health would allow that within the same week for them to switch.
Because you're potentially exposing the staff to more people?
And the campers.
Because they're...
Because if some kid came on Monday and happened to be sick, that counselor then goes to a second group Thursday.
Yeah.
And then could potentially, I think it's all on how you read the guidelines, but my guess is Board of Health is going to say,
Got it.
Okay. Any other question or discussion in regards to the motion on the floor? All right, seeing none, I will take a roll call vote. Cindy Chasten,
Aye.
Michelle Geddes,
Aye.
Bruce Williams,
Aye.
The chair is also an aye, so passes unanimously for both pricing and protocol for the programming for 2020 through Park and Rec. All right. All right, so we went through pool, summer programming, playgrounds we kind of touched on. Do we have anything further to kind of go over on the playgrounds? Okay. Field permitting. So this is something that has to do with the user groups in town so the non-profit and user groups. As I think I mentioned earlier, the only one that's really putting in something is baseball and softball. Is there any other user group that is putting in requests for field permitting for this summer?
Kristen?
Not that I know of. Chris might have received something separately, but the only ones that have gone to the Board of Health at this point have been Needham baseball, softball. That's not to say, I think that all the answers we've been giving to anybody that has been inquiring is that we're not permitting at this time. If we were to change that and put out our policies, we may see more nonprofit youth groups come forward, but I know the only one I personally know of is Needham baseball, softball. And the only one else I could refer to is Chris, because he's been tackling that at the same time as programs.
Okay, all right. I know that with where we are right now for phase 2 it's just, again, passive recreation. We're looking through the phases of where Governor Baker put out his original guidelines. It showed that phase 3 could be a possibility. Now, again, you got to get to that phase to get that possibility. What does the commission and what does the staff feel about that? Say we do hit that goal of July 6th as a time that you could go out and have organized sports. Do we think this is something we should do? Is it something that could, be done? What are the protocols? I mean, I know it's a big question to ask, but what do we think? First, I'll go to Stacy and the staff, and then I'll kind of ask, what do we think we should do with this if it comes through on the next phase?
So we're already getting a lot of inquiries about practices, because I believe technically those are allowed under the current guidelines, but we are not allowing them. My feeling at this point is protective of the staff and wants to say we're not going to permit until phase 3 because of all the other stuff that's happening.
Understood.
But we are getting a lot of inquiries, and Kristen has reached out to DPW and has worked with them to get School Dude working and underway, if nothing else than a temporary solution this season, because they have some people that can help us out through the summer. So I'll let her speak to that part of it. But it's tough because we're getting more complaints that some people are out there practicing and why can't I practice than we are actually requests for permits. So I think the perception is that we're doing it and we're being picky about it. So on the one hand, I want to say we cannot handle that. Let's wait till phase 3. And on the other hand, it's just going to get worse and worse. And I think we need to do something. Kristen, you want to weigh in on the School Dude situation?
Sure. So it was talked about, I think it's been talked about since the last fall summit that we had, that we were trying to make something a little more cohesive with the field scheduling. So School Dude has come up a couple times, I know, internally. So the DPW, so School Dude is what we use to rent inside buildings right now. Schools, their RRC, the CAF, Town Hall, that's where, if you were renting the building inside, that's where it is. So they have successfully added the fields to School Dude. Either they attach it to the school if it's a school field, or they created another location if it's a non-school related field like DeFazio or Claxton Cricket. So the only other thing, so we're making great progress. They have a staff that generally handles the indoor space, and that may be available for us to help us out during the beginning of this, as we're opening a pool and running programs quickly and efficiently and safely. So the only other thing I would say is, phase 2 guidance is still being worked through the Board of Health. So much like we didn't go into phase 2 when the state went into phase 2. We might not be at phase 3 with the Board of Health when we go into phase 3. So just something to consider as well.
Okay. All right. Angela, any comment or? Okay. Now I'm going to go to the board. Cindy, what do you think?
I don't have strong feelings about this. I think I would go with what the staff recommends, and when we feel the staff is ready to implement this. You know, my initial reaction is people are going to start asking as soon as we get to the phase, and so we should be prepared for that. But I think we take it kind of unlike how I felt about the pool. Take this a little bit slowly and be ready to start to permit things when we're ready. And I don't know that I would jump ahead to be the first in line on this one. So.
Okay. Michelle.
I feel like if the fields can be used, and there's groups that are really eager, you know, to get kids out there and run off some of their energy, which they've been cooped up inside for a long time. I also think we don't have to use the same approach that we have in the past. It doesn't have to be up to the teams to designate, to request for times. We can give them times. We can say, these are the times that, you know, baseball can use this. This is when soccer can use it. And we can be far more proactive in our approach. And so it's not going to suck up all the time of our staff. And it's saying that these are the times that are available, and you figure it out using the guidelines. It's your, you know, responsibility to adhere to these guidelines. You use it in the way that you.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that we should try to be creative in the way that we allow these teams to get out on the fields.
I think Michelle makes a good point on the being proactive, because one of the things we have to keep in mind is we cannot schedule and permit the fields as we did in the past, because so many more people need the fields for passive recreation, which, you know, looking at your calendars, you know, in the past, they've been wiped out and booked solid. So we can't go right from 0 to 60. We have to find a middle ground regardless of when we start. But we have to keep that in mind, that people can't go inside still and do recreation activities. So they're gonna still need access for active rec.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. Bruce, I'd love to get your opinion.
Well, you know, it seems like it's very difficult for the parents and the people that need them to drive by a field and see it empty. And if there's really strict guidelines, I think just getting prepared for phase 3 and put them off until then, but be prepared to open it up right away when that happens. But right now, if you put 15 or 25 kids on the field, and they're not in a high risk category, but it's still probably not a better idea to just hold off a little bit. It's not that far away.
Kristen.
So I will just point out that, you know, I know that you all poured over the many pages of guidance that we threw at you a couple weeks ago that cover everything that we oversee in this department. Yes. Commission. But with fields specifically, there are 2 sets of guidances. There's guidance that is for the user group to set so that they have proper protocols and policies that have to be in place for health and safety for the group. But then there's also secondary protocols and policies that come to the the facility operator, and that's us. So like we need there's contact tracing requirements and things of that nature. So any group that is going to use the fields would have to submit policy procedure that is under the guidance to the department as well as the Board of Health to get approved. And then there would be stuff on the staff side to make sure that we're following the guidance for the user operator side. So it's not just like we're running the programs, and so we are kind of both entities in that way, because we're the town and we're the user and the facilitator, where the fields are, especially with different user groups, are two separate guidances and both need to be adhered to. So there's two pedals here. So it can't just be, they can do, okay, we give them the facility and they come up with their own policies. Those do have to be reviewed, and that we do have a secondary check follow through where we have to get lists and contact tracing and like that. And contact tracing is now my new favorite buzzword, just for the record.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Now, just quick comments I have in regards to the guidance that you brought up. That is for phase 2, or is that also for phase 3?
That is phase 2. Phase 3 guidance has not been released yet. Okay. And the phase 2 guidance was for fields was put out 2 business days before they went into phase 2, which is why the reaction is so slow, because it's basically 2 weeks old at this point. And just 2 weeks old.
Now, my opinion on this is that it'd be silly just to do the work if we're going to go into phase 3 hypothetically in July 6th. So if we're going to do it, I think if we do something and we get the permitting, we look for phase 3. It's, I just don't think it's worth doing it for phase 2. We want to get as many people out there as active as possible and doing the passive recreation that we can get on the fields. You want it to be open to everybody. As I mentioned, I've driven around to a lot of the fields, and there are certain days, boy, there's a lot of people on the fields, and then other days, there's not a lot of people on the field. So I think there are certain days that get taken more than others. But I think it's something that we haven't seen a lot of user groups abusing the policy. So I would like to see if we could, in the next 2 weeks, and I know hopefully protocols will be coming out, that we can look into opening up the fields for permitting for phase 3. I just think it's too short of a time. We've got too much stuff on our plate to do anything for phase 2. And also, I think, Michelle, that was a great idea that when we do permit certain groups, if they have their things in, yeah, we're gonna have to put a restriction on it. We just don't get them the keys to the castle and be like, hey, listen, here are the fields, do what you need to do. You have to specifically put where they're gonna do it, where they're gonna have their times, kind of like what we do with the field permits in the springtime when we are normal. Like, I know there was an issue with schools have the field till 3 o'clock, and then there are their after school programs, and that some fields aren't released till 6 o'clock at night. If that's what we need to do to say, hey, listen, baseball or soccer or whatever, you want to do your program, you can't have the field till 6 o'clock. None of this 2 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon having a game kind of stuff. Because the town also has to run the town like it is. If Eddie has a project that he's planning on doing for some of the fields, like it might be seeding of one field, cutting the grass on the other, he has to do that within his normal business hours from 7:30 in the morning till 3:30 in the afternoon. We cannot and will not have a user group on those fields during those times. But if you're going to other times and even on the weekends when that work isn't being done, I don't see an issue with something like that happen. Maybe instead of 6 o'clock, maybe dial it back to 5 o'clock as a start, because that still gives Eddie's crew and whatever other maintenance is being done, it gives it that window. But I do not want to see a Tuesday afternoon soccer game happening or lacrosse game happening because that's what they want, because they think they can do whatever they want. We need to be very adamant of, this is the time, this is the space, this is what you can and when you can't use it. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and I just don't think, I think teams can get by with less space because they just want to be able to do any of the activities that they could do before, is my view. If there's a baseball team that's sitting there and they could be lined up and they could be throwing to one another, that's better than not meeting as a team. Like, there's this team relationships that are just deteriorating within the town just because people aren't able to get together as a team anymore. So I think you can get by with less space, but make the connections that the kids are really kind of desperately missing, given that they haven't had opportunities to be with teammates. So
the only thing I would switch instead of saying less space would be limiting the space. Because it makes it seem like we're taking stuff away, like limit the time frame. That's what I was going for. But I mean, that's just the way I would interpret something like that. Okay, any other questions, comments? Oh, I scared Michelle away. That's great. Oh, what? Back in a moment. Letting the dog out. All right. Let us jump to the last few items that we have for discussion items. If we have nothing
One
left
sec.
on. Oh,
I just want to clarify for minute's sake. So we
sure.
are not intending on permitting anything for anybody until phase 3.
I would like, yes, but I'd like to kind of see if we can hit the ground running. So when phase 3 happens,
Be
we're
prepared.
very close to that day. So it doesn't make sense for phase 2.
Okay.
Keep it as it is. Follow the regulations that the state and local government put through.
I just wanted to make sure we were all on the same page.
That's
Kristen
fine.
does have a question.
Even if on July 6th, all we can offer is the phase 2 guidelines that have been approved by the Board of Health.
If that's what it is at that time, and then we can make adjustments after, that's perfectly fine. Yes, at least we have something, and then we can adhere and edit that once we get better clarification of what we can and what we can't do. Make sense? Okay. Anything else in regards to letter H? All right. Any update on any events that we have going on? I know last time we talked about it, we talked about the drive-in movie theater. Any update on that?
The only update is that it's definitely not going to happen in June. We are exploring dates in July with the company, and we're just trying to nail them down. June sounded like a great plan before all the protocols came in all at the same time, and then we had to just switch gears. So we had to pivot, not pause.
That's a pivot.
And so we are still looking into it for July.
Okay, and I think there was also maybe an August date that we were thinking as a possibility. Yep. Okay.
Yes, we're definitely gonna book one, see how it goes. It's really gonna come down to facilities, bathrooms. That's our biggest sticking point at the moment, but we are working through those details. So that's
Got
it.
it. All right. Anyone else comments in regards to events? Looking through, nope. Last item up for discussion, any updates on any projects that we don't have going on? Fantastic. I do actually have one quick, and hopefully this falls into projects. The dredging project, I know it is completed. How much longer are we expecting that to be caution taped off? And how much longer are those 2 pieces of equipment that are still in Chambers Cove gonna hang out there? They look like they're 2 small little excavators that if we can get with that company to find out when they're gonna come pick it up.
I can look into that tomorrow.
Okay, perfect.
2 excavators and caution tape.
Yep.
Okay.
Perfect.
There's a bunch of lumber too down there.
And lumber.
Lumber. Okay.
Cool.
All right, action items. We've already taken care of 2 of them, but let's go through the minutes of the meeting from April, I want to say it was.
13th, that is correct.
April 13th. All right. I know we've all looked over the minutes. Do people want to take an extra moment to kind of cruise through them, or will I entertain a motion to approve the minutes of April 13th?
Mr. Chair, happy to make a motion.
Okay.
First of all, I'd like to thank Kristen for getting these minutes out. I appreciate that personally. And I'd like to make a motion that we accept the minutes of the April 13th, 2020 meeting.
First, do I hear a second? Bruce is a second. All right. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes of April 13th, I'll take a roll call. Cindy?
Aye.
Michelle? Bruce?
Aye.
Chair is also an aye, so minutes of the meeting pass unanimously. We have already going back to the action
Chris.
item. Yes, ma'am.
Mr.
Kristen?
Chair, Bruce, would you like to change your vote to abstain since you were not present at that meeting?
Whatever makes you happy. Sure.
Did you get from this meeting that maybe I'm the naggy paper pushing policy following one? No, you didn't get
I
that.
was going to question if I should vote because I wasn't there.
Nope.
So
You vote, but you say you can abstain from voting
I
since you were present.
understand. Yeah, I agree.
I tested you, Bruce. Thanks for that.
Chris can speak that I did the exact same thing at CPC. So
Yep. All right, so we have the action item of the minutes being approved. Do we need to do anything else in regards to letter B or C that is on the action items? Nothing. All right. Item number 6, issues not reasonably anticipated by the chair within 48 hours. I do not have any. Do we have any of the other commissioners that have anything? Nothing. Cindy's giving me the safe sign. Topics for future agendas. I think we should definitely keep on the discussion items for now, the for-profit organizations and field usage, just as something that if we have any updates or new things that develop, keep it up there as an active thing. All right. Anyone else? No. Okay. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Bruce is waving his hand. That's a second. All right, I'll do by roll call. Cindy Chaston,
Aye.
Michelle Geddes, spacebar. Bruce.
Aye.
All right, the chair is also aye. So meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for taking time out of your evening to discuss this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.